Hey everyone, my name is Carlos. I'm the founder and CEO of Product School, and I have a very special guest today whose name is Byron Jones and the VP of Product and Partnerships at Optimizely. Hey Byron,
Hey Carlos, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. It's great to be here today.
Which part of the world are you in right now?
I am in smoky San Francisco right now.
Cool. Well, I'm excited to talk to you about all things product, Optimizely, and also partnerships. So maybe we can start with your own personal story.
Yeah, sure. My background is actually in aerospace engineering. I spent the first 10 years of my career working at NASA's Jet Propulsion Lab down in LA. And I worked on a few projects like the Spirit and Opportunity rovers, and then built an X-ray telescope. And then all through that, I was kind of teaching myself different programming languages like Perl and Python to help automate parts of my job and make me a little bit more efficient. And then I had some friends that moved up to San Francisco and went through Y Combinator and were building companies. And I was kind of keeping in touch with them. It sounded like it was a really exciting place and going through a lot of really fun programs and starting companies. I said, man, this is really something I've got to try out. So when the timing was right, I decided to leave aerospace and come up, and I went to a Y Combinator event that was geared for recruiting and met founders from a lot of great places like Dropbox, Airbnb, Stripe, Optimizely, of course, Mixpanel. And throughout the process, I'd also taught myself a few other languages like JavaScript, HTML, CSS. And I really liked Optimizely. The founders, Dan and Pete, were great, and product I really could get behind experimentation. And I was able to land a job. They kind of looked at me funny, like, you're an aerospace engineer, like, what are you going to do at our software company? But because I taught myself some of those programming languages, I was able to get a job as a technical account manager, working there and helping customers write client-side JavaScript experiments to run A/B tests on their website. So that was my transition into software. And then in product, I was able to go into product about a year after that, which is where I ultimately wanted to get to. And I actually was able to do that because we were a small company at the time, probably 50 or 60 employees at Optimizely back in 2013. And I was able to kind of find holes in the system and like where were projects needing PM support where we didn't have a PM. So I actually worked on some things, moonlighting as a PM on projects like data warehouses and internal systems. So I could sort of prove myself as a product manager to the team there and eventually start working on more of the customer facing work. So that's kind of how I got started in product.
Well, definitely not your standard story, and I have to ask this: how can someone go from building rockets to building software? What was that each for you?
Which was literally faster launch times and less overhead. Working with the government has its challenges. Uh, the excitement of a literal launch of a spacecraft is something that can't be beat. But you spend 4 or 5 years leading up to that point, and it's an amazing culmination of excitement and terror all mixed into one moment. But I wanted more of that feeling of accomplishment and launching things, but in a faster, shorter cycle. And the day to day has been a lot of fun working in the software business.
So take me back to those early days. You wanted to work in the software business. You went through the Y Combinator career fair, and how big was Optimizely? What was so exciting about them that made you want to join, even if it wasn't in a product management role yet?
Yeah, at that time, this was back in 2012, and the company was about, it was, I think, just for Series A, and they were about 30 people. So it was kind of this place where the company had reached product market fit for at least its first product, this client side A/B testing. And the company was growing and they needed, smart people. I was really bought in on the culture and the people there. I think those are really important things to look for. The founders are incredible, and so looking at the leadership team at the time and the company and the products and sort of what little I knew then about markets and opportunities and addressable markets, to me, I was like, oh, A/B testing, everybody with a website needs to do that. So this has got to be a big opportunity, and it turned out to be a good horse to bet on, and it's been a great experience ever since.
And I think you made a great point about really joining a company and a culture that you were excited about, regardless of the initial title, especially because in an early stage startup, I'm sure you were doing a lot of different things. And then, of course, you found your way into product once you were in, right?
Yeah, that's really true. I think title means very little in a lot of these companies, especially small companies and startups. It's more about the experience you get and really the people that you do the work with that you have to enjoy. And so you have to focus on those things and you'll get the right experience to get the right, title or whatever it is that you're looking for eventually.
So, well, first of all, I also want to congratulate you for the Optimizers acquisition. This is public information. You guys announced that a few weeks ago.
Yes. About a month ago, there was the deal hasn't closed yet, but that was typically how these things work. Is there's the acquisition intent that gets publicly, and that's with a company called Episerver. So I'm extremely grateful and thankful here. I think it's pretty exciting to have been a part of a company that grew like Optimizely has, and that's not something that a lot of startups get to do. And Episerver, the company that acquired us, is a great company. They're one of the leaders in digital experience platforms. So they focus in commerce and content, like CMSs and e-commerce platforms. And so one of the things that could really help a product like that out, and products like that out, is experimentation. So they need, and other products like that need a lever to pull inside of them to be able to deliver experimentation to their customers. And so Optimizely embedded into those products is a great fit, and actually something I've been working on with other companies and in my partnership role over the last couple of years.
So I also want to talk about your own leadership growth, because I'm sure that the skills that you had to apply to go from engineering to tech and then from account management into product are different than from product to becoming now a VP of product and partnership. So can you tell me a little bit more about your own experience growing through the ranks?
Yeah, I think you have to really be looking for the opportunities and seeing gaps in sort of the system or the company, and where can you be where can you be aggressive about applying your own interest and skill sets. The other area I think is important as a product manager. Some of the like superpowers that you can kind of come up with that can be really great are sort of this ability to dissect problems and map out solutions. So I think something I love doing is getting in the whiteboard, which is sadly hard to do these days virtually. But back at NASA, I would get in with one time we were in a room with engineers across all the disciplines for the X-ray telescope we just launched, and we were trying to figure out the process to deploy a 30-foot boom. And as you can imagine, that's a pretty complex system and a series of complex events that have to lead up to that. So standing there in the front of the room and just talking to all the different leads of the different components and parts of the systems, and walking through all the different possible scenarios. What if it only deploys a third of the way, half of the way? How do you maintain the stability of the spacecraft in those things as the center of mass changes so dramatically? Translating that into software, I love sitting with the engineering team and mapping out how do we get our APIs and SDKs to line up with other products in the ecosystem. Optimizely is a point solution, best of breed for experimentation, but we're one of many products in a tech stack. And so how do we fit in with all those other products so that we can deliver value to the customer that is going to make sense to them? So I think that dissection of and understanding of problems and being able to communicate that and map out those solutions is a big one. And if I have time, one other I think is important is product managers are really about, you often are not a people manager. You're not managing a lot of people necessarily, especially in the early years of your product management career. And so you really need to find the skill set of leadership through influence rather than authority, because nobody's going to do what you tell them because you're their boss. But you have to really be good at thinking about, what's the strategy that you're trying to achieve and what's the vision, and how do you get other people excited about that and bring them along on that journey so that they're enthusiastic and they understand why they're building or working on this particular feature or product and what value it's going to bring. So they're excited about it naturally and not something that they feel like you're telling them what to do every day.
Yeah, and obviously I know you personally, and I also know that your work ethic is impeccable. And I think that's one of those soft skills that sometimes we cannot see in a resume, and it definitely helps. Especially you've been helping grow that culture and that company since the early days, and that level of empathy and influence that you were able to earn by being in different parts of the company is definitely incredible too. So I also want to talk about something very unique about your title, because you are the VP of Product and Partnerships. And I've seen VPs of Product who also maybe take care of marketing or technology, but I've never seen a VP of Product and Partnerships. So can you tell me a bit more about what that means at Optimizely?
Yeah, sure. It is a kind of a unique title. And it means that in addition to the part of the product organization that I run, I now also own the global partnership program at Optimizely. So that covers both what we call technology partners, like the peers that we work with, like Segments and Amplitudes, and some of the bigger strategic partners like Salesforce and AWS and Microsoft, as well as the solutions partners or design partners, people that we work with to help implement our solutions and make our customers successful. And so what's really natural about the combination of product and partnerships at Optimizely is, like I mentioned before, as being a point solution best at experimentation and working alongside of all these other products in a tech stack. We need to have a good relationship, not only with making sure that our APIs work back and forth across these products, but that the product teams are talking, that the marketing and sales teams are talking, and we can create these joint value stories around how does an Amplitude, a Segment, and an Optimizely work together to deliver value to customers, and how does a Snowflake work with Optimizely to deliver value with customers. We just launched an integration with them last week, and so it helps me have an influence on the direction of where we spend product resources to develop integrations and technology to work with these other products out in the market.
I've noticed that trend in the product space because, first of all, back in the day, there weren't really that many tools tailored for product managers. Maybe they were for marketing teams, sales teams, engineering, and now we see that user persona called product manager that needs their own stack. And there are very few platforms out there, I would say, like Salesforce and others that can really cover every single thing that you might need. For example, in sales, you can use a CRM, and especially if it's big enough like Salesforce, maybe you can live there. But in the product space, I've seen much more fragmentation and definitely more integrations. There's product analytics, there is experimentation, as you mentioned, there is wireframing, there is user research and insights. There are so many different tools. So I think that being able to integrate seamlessly with the whole stack, it's a very interesting play.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, there's no single product for a product manager that's out there that will help us do our job independently, but we stitch together all those tools to make it work.
So Byron, in your experience working with product people, what do you think are some of the myths and misconceptions?
I think what's interesting is that there are a lot of misconceptions out there. And I think you could argue a lot of different ones, like, is the product the person, the CEO of their products? How technical do they need to be? All these things. But I think, I think that PMs are, we live in one of the most dynamic and versatile roles in the company and have to play to a lot of the strengths and weaknesses of other parts of the organization too. And so, each role as a PM is going to be different at each company. And because every company has a different culture and a different set of, strengths and weaknesses in each department. So how it works with the engineering team and the design team and the marketing team is going to vary a little bit across each company that you find. For example, I've written plenty of one pagers and solution brief to products, but sometimes marketers are taking those on as part of the product marketing function. I think it makes it hard to down misconceptions, but one that sticks out to me the most is probably around the level of technical background that PMs need to have. At one point, I was the least technical PM at Optimizely because I didn't have a CS degree. I think what's important is in a product team is less about how technical a few of the PMs are, but more about how can you create a diverse set of PMs so that you can have different views and opinions coming from different backgrounds. Some people from the business side, some people that have a very specific industry domain experience. If you're working at a retail company, somebody that's actually worked in retail before. as well as the technical backgrounds that are needed to get into the weeds of what's the architecture look like and how do we build good APIs. The combination of those makes for a really great set of like product offsites and conversations around developing strategy that I think covers more of the bases than having like everybody be a technical PM or everybody have an MBA kind of a thing.
Yeah, and I completely resonate with that. You have no idea how many people come to us asking if they need an MBA or a CS degree, and you're obviously a testament to you can become a VP of product at a huge, very growing company without that. Obviously, there are many other skills. So I'm also curious about you now. Like, what are you passionate about learning these days? How do you keep up to date with all these trends and things that as a product person you need to learn as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I think I'm actually taking a Coursera on machine learning. I think ML capabilities are becoming more available in a lot of these cloud solutions, and I think that while it's becoming more widely adopted, I think that technology is being applied to products that is not necessarily always delivering clear business value. It's kind of a black box. A lot of people are still trying to figure it out, and so I want to learn more about the technology there so that I can be more on the leading edge of how products and companies apply that in the future. And find time for that between the day to day, I think is hard. Everybody finds their own routine for things like mindfulness and learning and work life balance. And I have kids, so nowadays my learning is happening after they go to bed, which thankfully is pretty early because they're young.
And I actually recently posted something around like, busy people always find a way to do things that are important to them. And obviously time is more limited these days, but still, I think I've talked to a lot of product leaders and they are all curious minds. They are always learning or reading something new.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Some of the best product managers I've ever met are always learning something new, thinking about something, tinkering with some new technology. Had a meeting with somebody last week and we were nerding out on air quality sensors and how those get built, and he was building his own through some Raspberry Pi and other things. I was like, man, I wish I had the time to do that right now. It'd be kind of fun.
So you mentioned that especially at the beginning as a PM, you're mostly an individual contributor. If you take the VP route, obviously there are people that will end up reporting to you. So in your own experience now, like what are some of the things that you still want to do for yourself? They may not scale, but they're still so important to you or to the company that you still want to allocate some time for them directly.
Yeah, I think as the team's grown and my role's grown, I think I've tried to stay as close to the customer conversations as I can. As we launch new products, being really a part of the journey there with the team that's doing them and staying hands off so that the team can own their products that they're building. But I think really having a deep understanding of what's happening with the customers and being able to coach the team through some of those conversations and follow up with them over, how do you think that demo went? PMs get to be the first salespeople of their products as they come out. So I think that's a lot of fun too.
And I guess that you guys drink your own champagne and use Optimizely internally. But I'm also curious, what are other tools? What's kind of your product stack?
Yes, we do a lot of experimentation and personalization with our product. It makes like account-based marketing campaigns really easy. We use Segment for sure for our event tracking and routing data to different systems. We use Amplitude for our product analytics. We use Chart.io for the BI component of our data warehouse. Jira for our project management, and then Slack for conversations, and then what's the last one? InVision. We use InVision for our prototyping and wireframing and things like that.
I love asking that question because back in the day, the answer would be, PowerPoint and Google Spreadsheet.
Yeah, actually, I should mention the Google Suite. I live a lot in the Google Slides and Google Docs. We write our product requirements docs in Google, and there's a lot of conversation in each document about what we were talking about in terms of the strategy or the particular features, and it's an easy way to communicate and collaborate across functions.
And I'm sure that probably of people in your company or even outside. You've been an amazing contributor to the product school community as a speaker in many ways. So come to you and ask for advice. And what do you think is the biggest opportunity for the next generation of product leaders who are trying to figure out how to get that first PM job and what they should learn, where they should go?
I think being humble and thinking about the opportunities that are open to you. Like I said, when I started my career in product, I thought I wanted to be a product manager and try to get a job there, but had to be patient and find the route into it that gave me a chance. It's hard to get a job in product without having product experience. So I think that's where things like product school really come in play to give you some of those skill sets. But taking a role that's at a company that you're passionate about, and then finding a way to take on projects or work closer with the product from within the company, and being patient, making a space to jump in there. For those PMs that are landing in their first role, I think that's really exciting. My advice to myself or to you back at that phase is thinking about you're building, and it's easy to get caught up in the agile process of, hey, I've got to build this feature, it's on the roadmap, and I've got to deliver it in 3 weeks and make sure we're on schedule. But I think it's important to think about is to take a step back and to focus on the outcomes versus the deliverables that you're trying to achieve. So the deliverable is like, hey, I'm going to deliver a new search function by the end of the month with my team. But the outcome that you're trying to achieve from that is, what is that? Is it, improving relevance, improving the conversion, the revenue? Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve through that? And use that as the North Star for defining success of what you're working on, so that you don't lose sight of the delivering of value as opposed to just the delivering of a feature.
Very well put. And I also want to know about the future of experimentation in general. When your company started, and I remember I was an early user, it was all about A/B testing, and I saw how the whole space grew into experimentation. So, what do you think is the future of experimentation?
We're seeing kind of two kind of paths right now. One is experimentation. A/B testing started out with Optimizely client side, so that was easy for people to use our visual editor and get started. We launched a few years ago a server-side product we call Full Stack that allows customers and developers to do experimentation deeper in the stack and create lower latency experiences on the website, which is really good. So I see that continuing to go deeper in the tech stack, especially as we deal with the death of the cookie and things like that, third-party tracking. And then I see the other part of that is, how do we experimentation more into workflows that already exist for people? So Optimizely, Full Stack, and web today are great for a lot of companies, but sometimes and this is part of the thesis around Episerver's acquisition of Optimizely and the integrations that I've built with the team for Microsoft and AWS and Salesforce, is how do we get experimentation into the existing workflows? So a content manager only has to build the website once, and then within that interface that they're using to create that in the CMS, they say, oh, create a variation for this, it does it for you, and then you just click run the test. And that's powered by Optimizely, as opposed to something that is, you have to then go into Optimizely and build something separate from that. So I think there's a lot of ways that we can merge the workflows that make it a lot simpler for users.
Well, Byron, it's been great to have you on the show and learn from you. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's been really nice getting to talk to you and to the folks out there. Wish the best to you, Carlos, and to all the PMs out there.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you. Bye, Carlos.